Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Asia Ali. A lot of people have been requesting my tips and tricks on how to do graphic eye looks and how to perfect those lines. And I wanted to show you the brushes and the methods that I use, just kind of like live in action. Today, I really want to do a Pokemon themed makeup look because I did end up getting the Pokemon Colourpop collection. I don't really have like a full makeup look planned for this palette. I kind of just bought it because I wanted to test out the colors. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And we're actually going to be testing it out only on one eye. So that is my first tip. If you are very new to graphic liners, definitely take a step back and be okay with just trying one eye. What I tend to do is I tend to alternate which eye I use when I'm doing this type of practice because I don't want to become too good at one eye. That's my first tip. Make sure that you're practicing on each eye and do them individually so you feel less stressed. Just gonna jump right into it. This is kind of gonna be a little bit less like, I don't know, formal than my normal videos. I'm kind of just gonna go for it. Okay, and because we are only doing one of our eyes today, I've already prepped my brow. I just did a super simple brow routine. Whenever I do makeup looks like this, I really wanna focus on the technique and, you know, gaining new skills and less on eyebrows. Like I really don't care. And I have nothing to be even with, you know? So like I said, today we are taking inspiration from the Colourpop X Pokemon collection. I will not be using only this palette though. When I do my creative looks, I really like to just like grab whatever colors I see that are around me. So I have grabbed a few more palettes that we're going to be using today. So when I do my whole setup, what I do is I grab a few of the palettes that I know that I want to use that day. And then I also grab some Q-tips, some paper towel, and some micellar water. So my favorite micellar water is the Eucerin face cleansing micellar water. I know that they say that all micellar water is the same, but it is not. This is my absolute favorite micellar water. So I have that as well. And typically what I'll do with the micellar water is I will just have some of it prepped in a little lid right next to me. So now we are all nice and prepped. Let's go ahead and bring you in to start this makeup look. All right, so before we start prepping our eyes, I wanted to introduce you to my favorite makeup brushes. So it's less the actual makeup brushes and more the shape of the brushes. Some brands are better than others, but for the most part, I have duplicates of the same relative brush because I just reach for that brush over and over again. And sometimes I just need duplicates because I clean my brushes when I feel like it, not truly when I'm supposed to. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start with the brush that carries the biggest amount of area. Okay, so the first brush that I want to talk about is this Sigma Detailed Diffuse Crease brush. So this is a semi-fluffy brush. It is really, really good because let me go ahead and show you. It just fits perfectly in that crease area. And it has a pointed tip. So when you're actually blending small areas in the crease, you can have nice control with this brush. And don't worry, I will use all of these brushes as we are going along the makeup look, so don't worry. Next, oh yeah, I love this brush. So this is actually another Sigma brush. This is a Sigma Precision Firm Blender brush. This specific type of brush, it's like a dome, a shortened dome blender brush, and it's very compact. This is gonna blow out any shadows that you have in your crease, and this is going to keep it very compact, and this is also great for packing on that shadow. This brush, oh my goodness, I love this brush so much. This is a pointed fluff brush. I believe this is a Morphe brush. It says 810 on it. So this brush is, as you can tell, we are getting shorter and shorter as we're going along with these three brushes. This brush is shorter than the previous brush, and it is more compact, and it is more dome shaped. This is great for packing on that pigment on your outer V, and then you'll go back in with the other brush to diffuse any edges. I like these brushes because I am kind of impatient and I really want, you know, every single swipe of the brush to really do what I want it to do. And this brush is a really great way to pack on that pigment. Okay, so these are my detail brushes. The first detail brush is another one of those blender brush. In comparison to the Sigma Detailed Crease brush, this one is a lot more thin. It has a lot less fibers. It's not that much shorter, but it is more fluffy. So the reason I like this type of brush, I have this in so many different brands. This is a Plouise 164 brush. The reason I like this brush as opposed to this one is this one gives you more control for small amounts of pigment. It is really, really great for detail. I'm sure I'm going to use this during this look, so don't worry. This brush, honestly, I don't think I could do any makeup look without this type of brush. And like I said, I have it in the MAC version, I have it in the Morphe version. I have like 4 or 5 of these in different shades. So you may see me pull up multiple of these when I change out my colors and things like that. But I love this brush, amazing. Next, we are going to be doing the Plouise 122. So this is a small packer brush. It's a very short dome brush and it's really, really good for packing pigment in small areas. So when you are actually like drawing a cut crease and things like that, that's what I like to use this type of brush for. That's typically what I use it for, or even under the eye. You can really smudge in some color. So, and then this is also great for smudging out any smoky eyes, any like faux shadow wings, things like that. This is great. I love this. It is great for precision detail. Amazing. Okay, and so this brush right here, this brush is my secret little weapon. So this is an e.l.f. angled eyeliner brush. I don't know if other people use this brush as much as I do, but I use this really to map out any of my looks, because what you can do with this brush is very, very lightly like draw on your skin. I just love using it. I think the angle is amazing and you can really map out like what you're going to do with this brush. It's also great for smudging. Any small detail work can be done with this angled brush, and this brush is $1, so definitely one of my favorites. So yeah, so those are my favorite brushes to use for detail work, and let's go ahead and jump into this look. Okay, so basically what I'm going to end up doing, or what I'm going to do when I first start, is I lay my palettes out kind of like this, like one on top of each other, so I can see all the colors I'm working with today. Today we are doing a Charizard inspired makeup look. When I opened the palette and I just saw him sitting there, he just looks so jolly and full of joy. So that is what we are basing this look off of today. I think it's gonna end up super cute. We are going to prime our lid. Today we're going to use the Born This Way Too Faced concealer, and this is in the shade Honey. And I'm just dabbing that all over the eye. And then I'm going to blend using a compact blending brush, getting that as close to the brow as possible. And then I'm going to lightly tap a little bit of this Huda Beauty powder all over my eyelid. This is going to give me a nice and even base for all of my shadows, and it also will help me blend everything. Because that Huda Beauty powder, what it's gonna do is it's gonna create that powdery base that we're gonna need to get a nice even blend. And the concealer basically is just going to be that base underneath the Huda Beauty. It's going to give the Huda Beauty powder something to hold on to. And it's going to give us a nice even pigment to work on. This is just how I start all of my graphic makeup looks, with some type of concealer and some type of setting powder. All right, now I'm going to go into the Juvia shadow from the Juvia's Place Culture palette. This is a big fluffy blender brush, and I'm just going to use that to blend this orange shadow into my crease. We're not focused on a very concentrated area. I can use this larger brush basically to create a nice base for the deeper shadows to come. Okay, and so now we have that base for our next shadow. Let's go ahead and grab the Precision Firm blender brush, and then we're going to jump into this shade Comet. And we're just going to apply that into the crease, right into the crease. You can see how precise this is. Like it's going, the shadow is going immediately into the crease. And I'm just blending back and forth, really packing that shadow into my crease and using windshield wiper motions to buff out the edges and make everything look very cohesive. And I'm only taking this up to the edge of my crease. So if you open your eye and you move up and down, the part that completely disappears, that's your crease. I know I look insane, but that's where the crease is, and that's where I am focusing this shadow. And then I'm gonna go back with that brush that I used with the Juvia. I'm gonna say Juvia. I'm just gonna go with that. And I'm going to buff out those harsh lines and blend everything into basically our base. Sometimes when I'm doing this, if I need a little bit more space, I will raise my eyebrow so I can really get in that area. So now I'm gonna grab that angled eyeliner brush, and I'm going to go into the shade, let's see, I may need to get another palette out. I really want something deep. Let's use Mars from the KimChi Chic palette. and it's going right into that crease to deepen everything up. And when I first started to like watch tutorials and things like that, I did not understand the whole using a light color and then working your way up to a dark color. I did not understand that whole concept. But the whole concept is just to make blending a little bit easier and help you maintain some of that pigment. So for this shadow, what we actually want to do is we want to maintain that vibrant red color. So I don't want to actually blend a lot of that red color, but instead I'm going to blend the orange surrounding the red. And I'll show you in a second, but that's just the thought process. Hopefully I made that make sense. If not, it's okay. I will do another one of these and do a better job. But I'm just applying that red using windshield wiper motions, really packing in that shadow. And I think I'm gonna just leave it like that. I think I'm gonna just go straight to the crease. There we go. And I'm going to take the brush that I used to apply Comet, and I'm going to use windshield wiper motions to blend out that top line of Mars. Basically blending that red shadow into the orange shadow. We're not gonna worry so much about the lower lid because we'll deal with that later. And I really wanna make sure that you can see that orange. So I'm gonna go back in with a little bit and blend it on top of that red. I really want it to be visible. And then because I did that, I'm gonna go back in with our big fluffy brush and clean up. Perfect. And we're just going back in with Mars, redefining that shadow. So this is what we're looking like right now. So we have that beautiful red orange shadow that blends beautifully into the orange and blurs out towards the brow. So before we do our cut crease, let me introduce my favorite graphic liner tools. So for my very intricate graphic looks, I love to use these three main tools. So I have my nail art brushes. So they are very, very loved. I use these so much. Mine are Beetles brand. They basically, what happens is they come in a bunch of different sizes. I love the long ones for long lines, lines that don't have to be as detailed or curvy. If you're doing a long straight line, that's great for the long brush. And basically the smaller that you get, the more or the easier it is for you to do intricate curves or detail work. Next up, we have my daughter tools or my nail dot tools. So they are just very small brushes with little dots at the top. This one specifically, this one has a little carver brush at the bottom. You're supposed to use it to clean nails, like French tips and stuff like that. That's what this brush is for, but I use it for makeup looks. And then finally we have this brush. This is my gem applicator tool. This is also a nail art tool. So all of my favorite brushes for intricate graphic lines are nail art tools. Let's go ahead and start. So I wanted to say that before I actually start using them on this eye look. Let me go ahead and pull you back in and we can go back to the makeup look. So to cut my crease, because I am ready to go ahead and cut my crease, I'm going to use this Plouise cut carver and this Plouise cut carver brush. It's their 7072 brush. And what I do is I get a little bit of the balm. I work it into the back of my hand because I don't like it to be too oily, but I still want that oil. And what I do when I first cut my crease is I apply it to my lid. And actually, let me go ahead and apply a decent amount to my lid space, right? Then we're gonna look down. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm stamping. This looks absolutely insane on camera, but I have been doing this for so long. I kind of just like, no, this is how you have to do it. Like, so the rationale behind this is that when I actually put my concealer on, I want my concealer to cover every single part that my eye naturally cuts into. I can, of course, you know, move certain parts up and down to make them more cohesive and, you know, like straight. But basically the idea is that when I'm blinking, I don't want like residual concealer to get into areas that it shouldn't. So I want to make sure that I'm really getting, I don't know how you explain this to another human being, but I'm really trying here. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe off all of the eyeshadow that is covered with the cut carver. So we are just pulling our eyelid down and cutting our crease. And I'm just following whatever is greasy, I'm gonna wipe that off. And that's gonna be the natural cut of my eye. So if you were ever wondering like how to find your cut for a cut crease, that's all you do. You just apply a little bit of, I use the Plouise remover because it's really easy to remove the greasiness when you're done. But you can also use something as simple as petroleum jelly. I'm cutting over there. And that is how you do it, that's it. And then once I've gotten most of the cut carver off, I'm just going over my lines, trying to make it as oval as possible. Try to make those lines as curved as possible. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so that's all we're doing. So we're just cutting out the main part of our lid for our cut crease. All right, and so actually I can use the same brush that I used earlier, which is really exciting. And one of the big reasons I love this type of angled eyeliner brush. So here's my cut crease, right? I can go over the areas where that red shadow is looking a little bit sparse and deepen that pigment. So I'm just lightly going over, adding more red. So you are still getting that beautiful transition. And for me specifically, I feel like this kind of went up a little bit too far. I feel like my cut went up a tiny bit too much. So I'm just gonna pull it down a little bit to match the natural fold of my lid. That was probably just an error when I was using the Q-tip. So I'm just coloring that back in. Great. And using the old brush with that orange shadow, blending. And now using my concealer, I'm just gonna apply a little bit on the back of my hand. Yeah, let's use this. Then I'm going to use this detailed side of my nail brush. And I'm just going to apply that to my lid. And I'm applying it mainly to the center and not really worrying about it being very neat. Then I'm going to use a short nail detail brush. And with that brush, I'm actually going to reinforce my crease. So we are going to go around the edges of my crease with that concealer. And when I'm doing this, I can also take some time to look upwards just to reinforce that my crease is in the right location. And again, I'm lifting my eyebrow to make that skin nice and tight and make it so I get a really, really crisp curved line. I think that looks good, honestly. So now I'm just going to take this brush and fill in any gaps that we have in our concealer. Tap, tap, tap to blend a little bit. Okay, to blend this concealer, I'm just going to use this fluffy blender brush from Crown. And I'm just going to tap so that I get rid of that super shiny look from the concealer. While I'm doing this, I am inspecting my lines to see if I need to make it more curved in certain areas. Perfect. Looks so good. Okay, and now I want to set my entire eye with a little bit of this setting powder. So I'm just gonna jump right back into that Huda Beauty powder. I'm just going to use the same exact blender brush that we just used. And I'm going to push that powder into my eye. Push it into that concealer. Being very careful not to overstep that line, but if I do, it is absolutely okay. I don't need to evenly apply that powder, but what I really need to do is make sure that that powder is applied all over that concealer. If you don't have a nice layer of concealer, of powder all over your concealer, then it actually won't blend very well in the steps to come. I'm going to take the same exact angled brush. We keep going back to the same brushes. And I'm going to use that brush to reinforce my crease, just as we did before. And I'm cleaning up any mistakes. So when you're doing these types of graphic looks, Another tip that I would give is to like not freak out. Most things you're going to go over the same area 3 or 4 times. Although it looks very, very simple when people are showing their makeup looks in videos, we're showing you a very small clip of a very, very long process. I think this is my favorite part of doing cut creases though. Reinforcing that cut, because it just looks so good. It really does. And I'm just applying a little bit of shadow at a time and using windshield wiper motions to blend. And I'm just looking at myself from multiple angles so that I can clean up that crease. Oh, that looks so much better. Oh, it's just my favorite part of the whole thing. And so now we have really laid the base for our cut crease. And now I want to start reaching for some yellow because I really want to embody that yellow that's going across Charizard's belly. So that's what I'm going for here. So that's like the orange is like his skin. Now we're going to start working on his belly. All right, so for this, we are going to use this nail brush. This is my second largest one. I'm going to give it a really quick wash really quick in this micellar water. That's what that's for. And just dry it off with my paper towel. Then I'm going to dip into this Haus Labs yellow. And what I'm doing is I am twisting my brush into the pigment and pulling, basically so I can work that pigment really into the fibers. And so I'm not getting a giant glob of yellow in one area because we're actually going to start doing some detail work. So I'm turning my head sideways. I can lift, actually let's lift our brow. And what we're going to do is reinforce that cut using this yellow. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm trying my best. And this is my first mark, so it's super duper light. We're gonna keep that first mark really light and then go back and reinforce it later. And if you really struggle with keeping your hand steady, hold your hand with your other hand. Hold your wrist, and that'll help you not shake as much. As for keeping the line straight, definitely try lifting your brow to keep that skin nice and taut and move slow. Perfect. And I just wanted that to be a beautiful transition between the orange and red at the top lid to the bottom lid. I'm going to set my lid with this shade here. It's called Talking Drums from the Juvia's Place palette. And I'm just blending that all over my lid with this Plouise 164 brush because I really need some color that's going to make this lid look even, because right now it's just my concealer and a little bit of setting powder. So we're just buffing that on the lid. And this is really nice too because it is kind of like a brown with an orange hue underneath. So there we go. We have buffed it all in. Okay. And now it is time for graphic liner. So I've grabbed my Mehron, how do you pronounce this? And I've never said it out loud. My Mehron palette. I actually have 2 of these. I have one in the UV shades and I have one in the basic colors. Today what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this orange right here. I cannot wait. I have been thinking about it since I came up with the idea for this look. I keep looking back at the image on this palette to really help me with my inspiration for this look. So the difference between the water activated and the waterproof liners is waterproof liners are, in my personal opinion, not very good for graphic art looks. They're amazing when you're wearing them out in public because obviously you want to have a little bit more staying power. You don't want water to splash on your face and your makeup melt off of your face in public. They're a lot more difficult to work with. I prefer the Mehron paints. Also, Mehron has a setting spray that you can use that virtually makes their paints, which are not waterproof, a little bit more waterproof. It is insane, that setting spray. So if you've never used it before, definitely take a look at it. If you would like to combine the wear power of a waterproof liner with the, malleability of a water activated paint. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. So what I want to do is draw a wing, because what my image in my brain is to have a wing that's on fire for Charizard's tail. That's really, it's just like there. That's what I'm really going for. And then I'm gonna hit my inner eye with a little bit of this yellow from the Colourpop palette. That's where I'm going, okay? So let's go ahead and start. So I'm gonna dip this one. We're gonna use the longest nail art brush into some water. And then we are just going to swirl into our orange. I don't know how to show you this, but I'm just swirling into the orange. Nothing fun is truly happening. I'm gonna go back in and grab some more water just to make sure it's nice and permeated. You do not want it to be too watery though, because you don't want it to be leaking all over your face. This is my arm. That looks perfect to me. So we're just adding a little water. And I think we are ready to go. You just don't want it to be dripping off the brush, but you want that brush to be very, very saturated. So what's so great about this long brush is that I really shouldn't have to work that hard to get my wing. That's it, that's done. So that's what's so beautiful about this. And we're just doing our line really close to our eyelashes. So I'm using the longer one for the outline. Then I can rinse off that brush. And I'm going to fill in that wing with a shorter one. Good. And I'm just going over that line with a shorter brush. I really want to define that tail, and I want it to be thicker. So the shorter brushes are better for detail. There we go. And that longer brush is really, really great for obviously detailed or thin lines, and really excellent points on your liner. It is just so good for that. So we're gonna go ahead and start a flame. For the flame, I'm gonna use the same exact Mehron palette, and I'm just going to use that yellow shade. I like rarely use this. Let's make sure it's a really good yellow. Yellow is a very difficult color for my skin tone. Oh, that's good. All right, I really suck at drawing flames. I'm aware of this. That's why we're practicing on this eye. Ooh, let's show you my other technique for when you suck at stuff. So we're gonna use that angled eyeliner brush from earlier. How does a flame look? I don't know. Like that-ish. If you ever come in, you really wanna do a makeup look and you're like, I don't know how to draw this, kind of map it out on your skin and that should help you. Let's start with the yellow. So this is gonna be the smaller inside portion of the flame. That looks good, okay. You have to look at your mistakes as like happy little accidents, kind of embracing your inner Bob Ross, you know? It's okay. Don't freak out. There's been so many times where I was on the verge of an emotional breakdown doing a makeup look, about to completely just like erase the look and start over. And then I just like figured out how to make it work. So definitely be patient when you're trying these looks for the first time. Definitely give yourself some time. My next tip is make sure that you gather your references before you actually start. The last thing that you want to do is like freak out mid-look because you actually have no idea how to make a flame, you know? You want to have your references right in front of you. It just helps out and makes things so much better. Definitely when you're already doing something that is semi-stressful. I actually think I like it. Cool. I want to try something. I don't know if it's going to work out, but it's okay. That's basically how this whole look is going, huh? So I have this Mehron palette and it's all UV shades. So like it's supposed to be like super funky under the light. If it doesn't like work with the UV, at least it'll look cool. And I'm just dragging that down, trying to like get everything to blend, I guess. I really like it. Is this orange too dark? Let's try it, who cares? We are just adding a little UV flare. We'll see how this goes. I think that looks awesome for somebody who can't do flames.
And here I am doing the finishing touches for this eye look. I just wanted to apply some products to my lower lash line. Everything I used during this time will be listed down below, so definitely take a look. And here is the final look. I loved the way that this flame came out. If you like these types of tutorials, let me know down below and I will definitely do some more. Bye guys.